Howdy folks, Shell Presto here. Today I'll be tackling the YouTube Artist Collective prompt, Verses. Let me come clean and say that I'm not a card-carrying member of the YTAC. They invite non-members to explore their prompts, and, well, I ain't a member. That said, I won't be linking to all their members because that's an official thing, but I will link to their official Facebook page for those of you who want to check it out. Their members do some really nice work, and I personally look forward to seeing what the artists do with the theme every 3 months. When I decided to join in on the Verses prompt, I really struggled with what to do. See, the suggestion was opposites, like dark versus light. I was originally going to draw our EastEnder Regulars characters Cascade, who controls water, and Corona, who can increase the temperature, hence start fires, to go with the opposites dynamic. But Corona's powers don't work in a flashy way, so even though the poses were awesome and the idea solid, the whole thing just didn't ring true as a standalone art piece. I decided I wanted to take the Verses a little more literally. It had been a while since I'd drawn a real brawl and some awesome action, so I was ready and raring to go on it. And what is more Verses than two burly guys beating the tar out of each other? So here's Bulwark, a New York construction worker who was turned partially to stone by a villain, with super heroic results. He's pummeling Battering Bill, the Bowery Brawler, one of New York's quote-unquote neighborhood protectors. New York's local superheroes can range from genuinely concerned protectors to self-interested street gang members, so Battering Bill may not be the most upstanding strongman, but it's bizarre for Bulwark to actually get into a fight with one of the local heroes, so that's a mystery to be solved in our next book. So coming up, there's a point where I'm doing everything to try to get Bulwark's right, which is our left, leg to look correct. I pull out an action figure, one of my favorite figures, which is of 1960 Cyclops, even if it's a redesign. I digress. Anyway, I pulled out an action figure and posed it how I wanted Bulwark. Then I was looking through pose and exercise books to find something similar. My husband was asleep when I was attempting to draw this, so I couldn't take a photo of him in the pose I wanted. And the hallway with the mirror in it didn't have enough room for me to make the same stance. So, I was trying to make the pose in my office with no mirror and envision what it looked like from across the room. Between those three sources, the action figure, the pose and exercise books, and posing myself, I did eventually get what I wanted. I thought it would be fun, since there's quite a few of you folks who don't know who the heck Bulwark is, to give you some insight by reading an excerpt of his very first appearance from Copper Knights and Granite Men. This is told by AMP, the Challenger Foundation's superhero turned music star turned superhero again. More importantly to this scene, the Promethean, aka Matteo Mancini, is a 900-year-old techno-wizard trying to change 24 people turned to stone back into flesh and blood. The characters in this excerpt are all guys, and obviously I'm a girl. I'm also horrible at doing accents, so believe me, you don't want me to try that. For those of you with good imaginations, you can imagine a slightly haughty, commanding voice for the Promethean, and a very New York accent for Bulwark. We found our working-class hero weighing down the back of an ambulance, his massive shoulders hunched as he breathed deeply from an oxygen mask. He was naked, except for a blanket draped over his lap, with stony fragments of what I later realized were his petrified shirt, pants, and underwear still stuck to his body in places. At first, I thought he was just covered by a fine film of pulverized masonry. But as I got closer, I noticed that his skin had the same color and texture of white marble as the less fortunate visitors in the gallery. His was less dense somehow, and the pale blue traceries glowed much brighter. A road map of small cracks and fissures spread over his stony integument, particularly around his joints and across his bald pate. If Range was narrating this story, this is the part where the guy would be described as granite-jawed or flinty. You're welcome. Overall, the guy was huge. Given that his head was above mine even while he was stooped and sitting in the back of an ambulance, he must have been about 7 feet tall. He was easily 350 pounds, even before his skin turned to rock. He had the look of a lumberjack or circus strongman, tree-trunk arms and block-shaped head, his musculature beefy rather than toned, but possessed of great strength and physical vitality. When he saw us, his eyes widened, and the oxygen mask fogged up with incredulous laughter. "Holy crap," he muttered, pulling off the mask. "You're here to talk to me, aren't you?" His voice was uncanny, basso profundo, but muffled by his stony skin so that it sounded distant. There was a subtle echo, too. I imagined that his words were being shouted by a man lost in a deep cavern hidden somewhere within his chest. "We are indeed. I take it that you recognize us," said the Promethean. "Recognize you? You're the Promethean. My little girl isn't going to believe this. We watch you on TV all the time. I must have seen 100 episodes of Martian War Diary and World of Tomorrow. And here you are, wanting to talk to me. I'm Pete Halstein, but I usually just go by Hal." "Pleased to meet you, Mr. Halstein." Matt snapped down the ether goggles and leaned in for a look. "How are you feeling?" "Well, I'm naked, and I had $200 rent in a wallet that I can't open. But other than that..." The semi-statue thought about it for a moment. "Hot. Yeah. Mostly I feel hot." "Naturally. Your skin can no longer perspire. We must be careful to keep you from overheating. Is there any other pain? Any other physical difficulty?" "It was hard work breathing for a while there, but I'm getting used to it. I can get a full chest of air now." "Remarkable," the Promethean said under his breath. "I don't suppose you have any idea why the gas only partially affected you." "Heck, you're the scientist. I was hoping you'd tell me." He paused, as if reaching for a long-distant memory. "I covered myself up in a tarp when I saw the gas. Maybe that did it. It ran away from the cloud, too, but so did everyone else, and it didn't help them. Even folks farther away stiffened up. But not you." "No, but all the same it got to be too much to keep moving. Too heavy, too hard to breathe. I stopped for a while and just stood there, trying to catch my breath." "How did you manage to stop Medusa?" I asked. "She's the broad with the green hair, I guess?" "Well, they were running in my direction. My back was turned to them, but I could hear them panting and yelling, and from what they were yelling, forget about the loot and so forth. I knew they were the bad guys, so I clotheslined them. They must have thought I'd been frozen like everybody else, but I stuck out my arm and whammo! The 2 guys in front ran right into it and went down. The broad, that is, Medusa, backed away. I warned her to give up, because I ain't the kind of man that relishes hitting the lady, even if she deserves it. She didn't give up, though, and she pulled something out of her pouch and aimed it at me. So I swatted her, open-handed. Well, she went down like a sack of potatoes." He grew sheepish, looking away from us as he went on in a lower voice. "I ain't proud of hitting her so hard, but I'm not used to moving in this condition." "I know how you feel, mister, but sometimes it just can't be helped," the Atomic Ranger said. Hal did not reply immediately. He seemed to dwell on other thoughts. When the Promethean was finished the once-over, the stone man said, "Hey, Doc, those people in the museum and my buddies, are they going to be all right? Is there anything you can do for them?" "I'm surprised you haven't asked that about yourself," the Promethean deflected. "I'm worried, sure, but I'm still moving. They ain't. He pointed at the crime scene with his thumb, and the quick motion of his arm made a sound like pebbles scraping on the pavement. In a low voice, he added, "It'd be nice to have something positive to tell the wife, though." We all looked at Matt, but he didn't answer. He just stood there, lost in his own musings and perfectly oblivious to the effect silence would have on this very worried man. You have to understand that Matt got his credentials long before bedside manner was invented. Halstein braced himself and spoke up. "Give it to me straight, Doc. Is this going to kill me? The weight, the physical discomfort, those things I can deal with. But I got a wife, a little girl. They got to have someone here to take care of them. If I can't—" At last the Promethean interrupted him. "My good man, put such thoughts out of your head this instant. I have good reason to think that these effects are temporary, and that they will wear off on their own, although I cannot be entirely sure, nor can I say when that might happen. But even if in the event that a worse fate awaits, I personally guarantee that your family will be well taken care of." "You'd do that, even for me? For a guy you've never met? Why?" "Because I can. I have accumulated a great deal of wealth throughout my life. If I can't use it to help good people, it is no use at all." "You're really something else, Doctor, sir," Hal rambled. "I'd heard a lot about the great things you do, but I never imagined. You're truly a great man." "Oh, please," I muttered. The Promethean smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Thank you for allowing me to examine you. I think I've learned all I can. Now go home to your wife and daughter and be as comfortable as you can. If you are in need of anything, you have only to call upon the Challenger Foundation." Okay, so that's it for now. I hope you all enjoyed the drawing and the story there. If you're intrigued and want to support the channel, Challenger Confidential Book 1, Copper Knights and Granite Men, is available in its entirety on Amazon and through other booksellers. If you have any questions about this piece of art, how I draw, who the heck the characters are, or anything you'd like to see in a future video, please leave a comment. Likewise, let me know if you like these more specific scenes and action shots as opposed to the pin-up-y stuff I usually draw. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It makes my day and helps the channel. Most of all, though, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have an awesome and creative day. Presto, over and out. I was going through my drawings of Bulwark as reference and stumbled upon this post-it drawing that I did for a fan of Copper Knights while I was at Sci-Fi Valley Con in Altoona, Pennsylvania, back in 2016. You rock, David. Anyway, I also found photos I snapped of drawings from the charity Quick Sketch panels. These sort of panels are really fun, if not a bit nerve-wracking. The idea is that artists like myself attend, and the convention gives you supplies like Crayola markers. The panel attendees will call out random things they want the artist to draw, and the artists pick whatever sounds good to them to draw. But you're supposed to do it, I won't say as quickly as possible, but you're supposed to work fast. The point is to get a piece of art done within 45 minutes, but you can spend just 10 minutes if you want to. Some prompts are more funny and just need to get an idea across. Anyway, the attendees will either buy tickets and have a chance to win the piece, hence they can get cool, quick original sketches for cheap, or some cons hold an auction and the sketches go to the highest bidder. Either way, the money goes to a good cause. The first thing I drew was that picture of the thing. I gotta say, it felt really strange working with those chunky Crayola markers for the first time in decades. And since you have to work within the hour, there was no time to warm up. Some very awesome folks bid on this one. Someone else wanted Saruman from Lord of the Rings. There was a running gag with lollipops going on throughout a lot of the pieces, and, well, most folks were doing funny things, so I drew trolling Saruman. I was pretty shocked that not a lot of people got the reference. Saruman singing the Trollolol song is one of the internet's greatest gifts to humanity, so make sure you see it if you haven't. My biggest contribution, however, was this piece. Someone wanted the Kool-Aid Man as a Red Lantern from the Green Lantern books. It felt like a nice, easy thing to draw, and, well, I've read enough Green Lantern to get the reference. I had a blue lantern pin on my wedding bouquet, and after the ceremony, my husband and I wore green and blue lantern rings for our photos. Comment below if you'd like to see some of those photos in a future video. Anyway, I was shocked when this drawing went for 40 bucks. Sometimes folks just like an idea well executed, even if it's simply done. And charity is a good motivator. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing those. Have an awesome day, all. Presto, over and out.